This week on Country Fried Rock, I'm talking with a Nashville-based songwriter named Sam Lewis with a brand new record called Waiting on You, out now on Brash Records. I first discovered Lewis watching some of the Best of Music City Roots videos, along with a variety of other Country Fried Rock alumni on there, including folks like the Alan Thompson Band. Pairing legends and emerging songwriters is exactly what this record does. Recorded at Southern Ground, the studio is currently owned by Zac Brown, and with stellar playing from folks like Mickey Raphael, Willie Nelson's harmonica player, Will Kimbrough, Gabe Dixon, and the McCrary Sisters. Waiting on You makes Sam Lewis's song sparkle. Today on Country Fried Rock. I'm your host, Sloan Spencer. My guest today on Country Fried Rock is a guy named Sam Lewis, who I first saw on Music City Roots. He's got a brand new record called Waiting on You. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This is fun. I truly did first to see you on Music City Roots a while back. Tell me a little bit about what you've had going on in the last year or so.
Oh, man, quite a bit. Quite a lot of touring. Been touring a lot of the states. I did a West Coast run, east to west last year. Got to play a lot of great shows with my favorite people, Merle Haggard and Marty Stewart and folks like that. And got to do a couple European tours, mostly based in the UK, and made a new record in the middle of all that, and made a lot of new friends and wrote some new songs. So I think it's almost time to make another record.
What has been changing for you musically in this large bit of touring?
It's funny when you record songs, some of them are, a little older and some are a little newer. I continue to enjoy and learn how the songs can evolve, especially in a performing live setting. Songs are living things, and, they can be documented numerous times. That's kind of what I've learned most after last year, especially going into the studio in the middle of the touring and then coming out the other end and already playing some of these songs a little differently than the way I recorded them, even though they're, a few months old. That's been an interesting thing, and it's exploring and getting to travel to newer, cities and states and countries that I'd never thought in a million years that I would ever be visiting. And now I'm leaving little pieces of myself behind, and it's insanely rewarding.
On this most recent run of touring, have you been doing that solo?
Yes, I'm in the solo world as we speak. Been working on a duo act and a couple other things, but it's mostly solo out there in my old Honda Element.
Oh, I drove one for 10 years. Best car ever.
Ever, right? Best car ever. I've preferred to sleep in mine versus some hotels that I've had to sleep.
I could talk about the Honda Element all day long. And camping, that is the best car ever.
It is. It's a good one, man.
So, yeah.
I don't know why they quit making them.
Seriously. But we digress.
Hey, folks, this is Sam Lewis on Country Fried Rock.
Hey, y'all, this is Sloan Spencer, the host of Country Fried Rock. We've had an incredible year with more people finding us on the radio and our podcast than we ever imagined. Thank you all so much. Careful what you wish for. You just might get it. You were able to record this record, Waiting on You, with some incredible folks. How did all of that come to be?
I paid them a lot of money. No, I'm kidding. I still owe them a lot of money. I've been in Nashville for about 7 years, and I've been insanely fortunate to not only meet and know, but work with some of my personal favorite musicians and songwriters in this town. Some of the people that played on the record are people that I've known for, 4, 5, 6, going on 6 years, and some that I've known about for a long time, but I just, the circle gets a little bigger, and you get to know people a little bit more as you spend time and to get to work around some of the musicians and songwriters that are on the album. So, a lot of that was spearheaded by the engineer. His name is Brandon Bell. He's the chief engineer at Southern Ground, and he was responsible for my first record and the second record for sounding really as good as it does. And he introduced me to Oliver Wood of the Wood Brothers.
Yeah.
So Oliver does a lot of things at Southern Ground, and of course he's in a fantastic band with his brother, Chris Wood, and Jono. Jono's actually featured on the album as well, playing piano, not drums, but piano, one of my favorite attributes to the album. But anyway, he introduced me to Oliver about a year ago. Me and Oliver just started talking about music and what we loved and what we wanted to do and all that. And I just asked him if he'd be interested in helping me make a record and producing a new album, basically my second album ever. And he was into it. And so we just immediately started talking about the songs, what exactly we were working with, and what we heard, and kind of what our our resources offered, and they obviously offered quite a bit. We were very fruitful. Will Kimbrough and Gabe Dixon and Kenny Vaughn, who I've worked with a lot. All of it's grown out of J.T. Cure and Derek Mixon, who are the rhythm section on the album, and two of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Christina Trains featured, great vocalist from Savannah, Georgia. She's fantastic. I learned a lot from her and the McCrary Sisters, who were also featured. Darrell Scott made an appearance, and probably my favorite hour of the entire session was when Raphael came in and played harmonica on a song called Texas.
That's a big deal.
Originally wrote that with him in mind, and that was quite serendipitous, to say the least.
How did you end up getting connected with Southern Ground? Because the studio alone is historic.
I've known about the studio for a while, even before Zac Brown bought it, and has made it what it is. It's an amazing environment that he's created here. But I was introduced to the studio, and Brandon Bell, like I said, he's the chief engineer at the studio, and I've visited him a couple times when he was working on some projects, and just kind of fell in love with the place. And I never thought that I would actually make a record there, but when I started talking to Oliver, we were looking at some studios, and it just kind of naturally happened to bring the session here. I was extremely excited about it and realized, what all we had to work with, and most of the time I have way too much than I really need. So we did the album actually in just 2.5 days. It was fast-paced, but we had just enough time to do what we needed to do. Nice. So that's how I was introduced to Southern Ground. This is Sam Lewis, and you can check my music out at samlewistunes.com.
Hey, y'all, this is Sloan Spencer, the host of Country Fried Rock. Those of y'all who listen on our podcasts, it's a quick hit of just the conversation. If you want the full radio program with all the songs that we talk about, ask for it on your local radio station, joining 20 other stations across the country. Get the goods at countryfriedrock.org. What a great opportunity on a lot of different levels to be able to bring your songs to people with that kind of support behind it. How do you adapt that from this incredibly layered recorded version with these awesome dudes to what you're doing on your own?
Solo acoustic versions were there before, the record was. So it's just what you do. You just play the song. That's all I have. And fortunately, I was able to add some color to those sketches with some, fantastic, musicianship. But yeah, that's kind of it. I'm just a songwriter. That's about it. That's what I do. I just play the songs and hope that they get across. And if you buy the album, you're going to get more than, I think, probably what you asked for, which I think is a really good situation to be in.
So were these songs that you had already played live before you recorded them?
A few of them. I had half of that album pinned and was already exercising those songs in live settings for probably about a year and a half before I documented them on this new album. And then there was a few new ones that came into play last year, when we started filling out what I had to work with. And we had probably about 20 songs to kind of pick and choose from and figure out what we were looking at. And then I wrote a few new ones in the summertime when I was over in England and added them to the mix. And, they just kind of sorted themselves out. Some of them, they're pretty oiled and greased, especially in the live setting. And some I'm still moving around a bit. They're still they're wanting a little more attention. As far as the recording and the album, I think we bottled something really good on every one of them. I don't think there can really be beat.
You were able to get some independent label support for this record. Tell me about how that relationship came around.
Yeah, that's great. I was introduced to Steve Jones, who's the CEO of Brash Music. I was introduced to him by a friend and a confidant by the name of Al Moss. He's a fantastic radio promoter and just a fantastic human being. And he turned Steve on to my music a couple years ago, and I was introduced to Steve. He started coming to some of the shows I was playing in Atlanta, there at Eddie's Attic, and, Red Clay Theater there and Duluth. We talked about what I was up to and what I wanted to do, and he was just really interested and very, very intrigued and asked how he could help. I came back from England last summer, and I had a record contract waiting on me, and immediately went to work and made the album a couple months after that. Pretty fast-paced, but, I was introduced to Steve and Brash Music, and they've been absolutely amazing to work with. I'm very spoiled, to say the least, to not just have the opportunity, but to be able to work with these amazing people that I can call them anytime about anything. They're always there, open arms, and they're very creative.
Well, so I know that you're fixing to be, as we say here in the South, fixing to be on the road quite a bit. How did some of these come about?
I have my normal haunts that I go and play, my normal cities and towns, strongest in the Southeast, of course, and The circle has grown quite a bit in just the past couple of years, and some of those are solo shows, and some of them I'm fortunate enough to be supporting people. Like I've got a few dates coming up soon with J.D. McPherson and Chris Stapleton, who's got a new record. He's fantastic. Todd Snyder this summer. And so these are people, again, like making records. I've just been watching them and just really feel like I connect to them, and I want to not just make a good record, but I also want to have a great show. I think I'm going to benefit a lot from being able to, see them in their environment and learn something from it. And, I think it's great that they're giving me the opportunity to have me up there supporting what they're doing. It's really cool, and some of those have kind of come out of nowhere, and they're also relationships that I've been cultivating for a while, and the opportunity has just presented itself, and that's great.
That's very cool. Chris Stapleton, of course, was formerly with the Steel Drivers, who've been on this show in the past, just to connect that for listeners.
Hey, folks, this is Sam Lewis, and you can find my album, Waiting on You, at my website or a live show or at iTunes.
I'm your host, Sloan Spencer. You can keep in touch with us on Facebook, but I really like Twitter, where we are at Country Fried Rock, ending with R-O-K. And if you want to see pictures of my shoes, my dog, and my lunch, stop by Instagram. But whatever way you like to hang out, stop by and say hey. Who is Ryan Joseph Anderson?
He's a recent transplant. Well, he's been in Nashville now for about a year and a half. He's from Chicago. He's a great singer-songwriter that I've known for a few years now. Met him in one of those back porch settings, with moonshine and darts and dogs and stuff like that. Anyways, we've been friends for a while. He came to town in Nashville when I went overseas for the first time to play, and he made a record while I was gone. We've done a few shows in the past together. And
where are you from?
Oh, I'm from all over. I grew up mainly, though, in North Carolina and Virginia. Asheboro, North Carolina, just right there in the middle of the state, where the state zoo is. Hillsville, Virginia, little tiny town, mountain town, right off the Blue Ridge Parkway in southwestern Virginia. But I've spent time in Georgia and South Carolina. I make it sound like it's jail. I spent time.
Tell me a little bit about the album art.
They're just photos. I hate photos of myself. I'm not a big fan of it, but, I had a great opportunity when I was on tour out west last September, October. I was playing some shows with Marty Stewart, and a great, fantastic lady by the name of Pam Esposito, who's responsible for all of my branding and everything, online and offline, and all my products she designs. And she lives out there in Pasadena, and she told me we needed to do a good old-fashioned photo shoot. And, so she twisted my arm and talked me into it. And so those photos, a lot of photos that have been coming out the past couple months were actually from the same session. We did about 4 or 5 different shoots in one day, and the album art is me basically on top of some high apartment buildings in downtown L.A. The chair wasn't originally up there; it was in the basement, so we had to work to get it up on top of the roof. And a guy by the name of Glenn Campbell took those photos. Who's fantastic, and he's not any kin to
no relation.
The Rhinestone Cowboy, but he's very talented all the same. So that's where the artwork came from, and that's Pam's baby. She did that. I have no business doing any of that, because I was wanting to come up, I think, with something like a color by numbers, and I presented that idea to everybody, and everyone chose to ignore that idea. So that's why I just concentrate on the songwriting, just hanging out.
You do have quite a few dates planned. What other sort of things do you have on deck?
There's a lot of dates actually that are about to drop over the summer. A few festivals coming up, and then I've got another tour of England, and this time I'm really excited. I'm going to be getting up into Scotland and I think Ireland.
Oh, yay.
October. That's kind of what's cooking, what's on deck. To be honest with you, I'm ready to go make another record again.
So you've mentioned that a couple of times. Tell me what these new songs are doing for you.
Oh, man, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's kind of staring out into space, but there are some little dots here and there. I just got to figure out what they are and how to connect them all. So it's a fun part of the puzzle that keeps me healthy and focused and sane. Waiting on You is available on vinyl. Limited, though, very limited pressing. I think we just pressed 300 of these. I did the same thing with the last one, and they go pretty quick. But I'm telling you, man, I've listened to this album probably way too many times. And it sounds so much better on vinyl versus any other format. It's incredible. It's a double vinyl too. The album's about 45 minutes long, so we had to press up 2 discs, as they say. We had to make 2 actual records. So it's fun, which a little secret here, that's actually what helped me put together the track listing. So that can be the trickiest part, making a record is the order, and some say it doesn't matter, and I'm one of those people that say they are crazy for saying that because it does matter.
The restrictions of having vinyl sometimes are a blessing.
They are, yeah.
Because it forces some structure on it that you otherwise might not have.
It's true. It's really true.
Sam Lewis, looking forward to waiting on you next week. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Safe travels. Bye-bye. CountryFriedRock.org. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved. Our 2015 bed music is from Drivin' and Cryin's debut album, Scarred But Smarter. Got a great band you want to hear on Country Fried Rock? The best thing to do is tweet us at Country Fried Rock. That's Country Fried, R-O-K. You can subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock. Country Fried Rock radio programs are distributed to public radio through the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock.